Hi, greetings from the parking lot of the local grocery store. So a friend of mine reminded me that tomorrow is post-traumatic stress disorder day. And I really wanted to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope around that topic. Just a quick video from my heart to yours. I was afraid that if I waited till after I got back from the grocery store, I'd be making dinner and anyway. So as somebody who was traumatized young in my life, I have lived with post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic anxiety, panic attacks, all of that stuff for many, many years. And I was intolerant to the various medications, anti-anxiety, anti-depression medication, like everything I tried, my tongue would swell, I'd have hives, whatever. So there's a couple things because of that, and also the same sort of weird intolerant reactions to alcohol, smoking pot, anything like that. Like, it didn't affect me the way it affected other people. So it was like, sorry, honey, there's no apparent medicinal stuff that is going to work for you. So you need to figure something else out. And it's like, so if you're drowning, if you're not a very good swimmer and you're just sort of doing the dog paddle in the middle of the ocean, and you're thinking, why am I even trying? Because eventually I'm gonna die out here, and just sort of give up. That's not how I roll, and I hope that's not how you roll either. Right? I chose to say, okay, what can I do? And one of the things was to accept that I might have full-blown horrific panic attacks every day for the rest of my life. Okay, that might be because there was a time for a very long time that I had a panic attack, at least one, every day for a very long time. So this acceptance part, and then what can I do? Right? So like if you're in the middle of the ocean, you're doggy, is there a piece of driftwood? Is there some trash I could hang on to and stay afloat? Like, you figure it out, right? And that is really how I have done decades with all of this, is I figure it out. What can I do to support, to comfort myself, alleviate symptoms, lower my cortisol? Like, what are all the things I can control? For me, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, panic attacks, night terrors, when I'm not experiencing them, I make up that I am in remission, not cured. And so I don't have the expectation that I'm never going to have a panic attack again, never going to have an anxiety attack again, I'm never going to have a post-traumatic stress episode again, I'm never going to wake up screaming in the night again. So that creates a feeling in me of profound gratitude. Every morning when I wake up, in my skin, not that out of my skin feeling, here but not quite here feeling. When I wake up and that's not present, and I'm like in my skin, and I don't hear a narrator in my head pointing out potential catastrophic things in my life, I'm so happy. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I am in my skin, and I do not take it for granted. And I don't stop doing all of the things that got me to not having the panic, right? So, what I eat, what I drink, my bedtime, like my lifestyle is all for supporting the highest and best health, mental, physical, spiritual, that I can do every day. Now, you can still do all of the things and still have an anxiety attack, a panic attack, a post-traumatic, because you don't know. You don't know what will trigger it, right? And I make up that if I do all of these healthy things, then I am decreasing the severity, the duration, and how many times the reoccurrences of anxiety, panic, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Sort of like when you've eaten and somebody offers you junk food. They offer you a brownie, chocolate ice cream. If you're full, you have greater ability, greater bandwidth to say, no, thank you. But if you're starving and somebody's like, here's some, food that might not be good for you. Maybe you're diabetic and you're not supposed to, you've already had your sugar for the day, and, it wouldn't be good for you. If you're starving, you're just going to eat it, right? So when I do all of these healthy things for myself, I am setting myself up so when it happens, because in my mind it's remission, not cure, I will be set up to handle it, and it won't be as bad, as long, or as many times because of everything that I've done, if that makes sense. And the benefit of that is I feel great. I feel great. I'm healthy. And yeah, I made that face like, I'm healthy, because it is sort of based on where I come from. It's pretty amazing that I'm going to turn 60, within the year. And I'm on no meds other than my migraine medication. Pretty cool. So I have a rigid bedtime. It's not in stone, but 9 o'clock, 9:30, I'm in bed. I'm an early riser. I believe that people who get up early, the people that I respect and admire, and then as I meet more people that I respect and admire, and I ask them what their get up time is, 5:30. So I have my get up time. I make sure that I exercise. Man, that has been such an important part of my journey, is working out. It's helped me be able to sleep, because I can be, mentally exhausted just from my own brain, but physically not be tired and not get a good night's sleep. So getting that exercise is so important for me. Drinking enough water. Facebook is all this stuff about looking beautiful. Well, let me tell you, if you just drank water, it's amazing. Fresh fruits and vegetables, and, healthy fat, and you drink enough water and you get sleep. Well, so one of the benefits besides mental health is your physical health. Getting sunshine, getting outside, being in nature, like all of the studies, we didn't have all these studies back in the 80s when this whole thing was going down for me. I didn't read about it. I experienced it. I would be in the woods and I would be like, wow, I feel so much better. And when I'm paying attention to the birds and the trees and the sounds and the feelings and the tastes and the sights of the nature around me, my brain isn't freaking out about all this other stuff. When I'm quiet, when I take a couple of times a day and I just get quiet, I calm down and my shoulders go from up here to down here. So I learned these different things through my own experiences, and then as the decades passed, science backed those things up and added a few more things, like some of the breath work and some of the polyvagal, although it was the early 90s and I was doing rebirthing, and that was huge. That was another really cool thing that helped me, was learning the power of breath and how that can change my physiology. And then, later on I learned about EMDR and I learned about tapping and all of these really wonderful tools in the toolbox. You don't build a house with just a hammer. You need a lot of different kinds of tools. And it's the same thing for our body, mind, and spirit. We need a lot of things. Also stuff to read, like Byron Katie, The Work, and Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul and Living Untethered, and medicine stuff like The Myth of Normal, the book The Cured, called Cured, Tony Robbins' book The Life Force. Like, there is so much Wim Hof, like learning about breath, stretching, and the power of cold water to reset our system and to build our immune system. The power of heat, the power of being in steam. There's so many things. Now, I've been doing this for a really long time, okay? It's a really long time. I don't get triggered as much as I used to, but I still get triggered. And I'm not shocked when I'm triggered. I'm more curious, like, wow, where did that come from? What is it trying to tell me? So the past few years I was triggered at a particular group that I was in, and a woman was talking about her rape. Go figure. I'm listening to her rape and I'm on my hands and knees, eyes as big as silver dollars, hyperventilating, trying to get out of the room. Another time, there was, I think it was called Casino, with Sharon Stone and Al Capone, is that right? A rape scene, and I am in the bathroom having a total post-traumatic stress response to that. Another time I think it was called, what was it with McDreamy? What was it? I don't know. It was about hospital and nurses, and there was a scene where a nurse was underneath a gurney, underneath this bed, trying to escape this guy who was killing people. I fainted. I down she goes, timber, right? And then another time I was getting a massage, and it was like a Rolfing kind of thing, and this woman hit something underneath my armpit. It was just going like under my armpit, and she hit something where grief was being stored in my body, and she hit this thing and I was someplace else. Post-traumatic stress response, gone. And then I had the same thing happen last week. I was having a womanly doctor's appointment, and the female doctor hit something inside of my vagina, and I'm just like, stop, please step away from me. I was able to, I didn't faint, and I didn't start crawling out of the, I've had some interesting reactions, and thank goodness, I did. It happens. And when you take good eye makeup, that when you take good care of yourself, you are just better able to handle whatever happens as that post-traumatic episode happens. So I guess I just wanted to share that there are some things that you can control, and I have done a lot of therapy for looking, healing the past stuff, and I've done a lot of self-growth. That's forward stuff, getting the tools, taking proactive action. And some of the things I do is I monitor my stress tank, kind of like a gas tank. And I say, okay, so it was time for me to go back to the doctor tomorrow. And I also had a dentist appointment. Well, it's not Novocaine, but whatever they use, they have to do like the lower Novocaine for me because it causes a panic attack, and a panic attack can trigger an episode. Anyway, so I can't do both, and I know that. So I knew if I canceled the doctor, I would never go back again. So that's not an option. So this girl really does not like her job. Sad. I wish for you peace. I wish for you peace. So I had to cancel. So I knew I could reschedule the dentist, which I did, and I need to go to my doctor's appointment because we don't want to go where we've had an episode before. We don't want to go where we've had an episode. We don't want to go where we've had a panic attack or an anxiety attack. So it's really important that I go to that appointment. So there's a lot of surfing, right? Sailing, whatever analogy you want to use, when you're someone that deals with these issues in our body, our body and our minds. So there's just an acceptance and a just loving who you are. If I was somebody that was born without a leg or without an arm, or had to have a colonoscopy bag, or diabetes, or epilepsy, or whatever, right? There are people who deal with stuff, and I always think of the Special Olympics, and one of the things I love about the parents of the people who participate in Special Olympics is they're not saying, Susie or Joey, you can't do that because you have this handicap, you have this disability. They say, what can you do? Let's maximize what you can do. And I think we do ourselves, our children, and each other such a disservice when we say, well, you have this or that, and so poor you, and you just, the world owes you because of what happened, or because you have to live with this, or the standards are just lowered for you because screw that, right? What can you do? Well, I just have to make some adjustments. I have to know what my stress level is, how can I set myself up for success. If I've been really, really tired and then I have these different appointments, well, that's probably not good. So I take things and I have the kind of friendships that my friends know that I want to be with them. I want to do fun things with them. And if I've been under a lot of stress, me being in a crowded event is not good. And there's levels. It's a crowded event, but we're going to be sitting somewhere, and my friends will bring me my drink or my whatever. I'm not going to be getting up during intermission. I'll go when it's not crowded on another time. You just manage, and my friends are really cool and understanding. I can go, but I need this support, or I'm not going to go, or I am going to go. Let's have a blast, So I'm just sort of navigating through my life, through my day. And it can change. I can be having a perfectly fine day. I'm in the grocery store and somebody walks by me with the same cologne that the guy who raped me wore, or I'm walking through a parking lot and I see the same make and model of a car. It used to be I would see that very specific make and model of a car and I'm out, I'm done. And over time it got to the point where I see it and I recognize it could be a trigger, and I say thanks for sharing and I keep going, right? And I distract myself, whatever. Or if it's a strong reaction, I ask myself, how you doing? Do you need to stop? Can we do the grocery store? I don't beat myself up like, oh, here we go again. Here's the, no. I treat myself the way I would somebody that I cared about. Hey, recognize that is the same car you were raped in. How are you? Do you need to check out? We can go home, do this another time. Do you feel like we can go in and go grocery shopping? What do you need? Same thing when I was triggered inside of a grocery store. Okay. Boy, that's interesting feeling going through my body. And I stomp my foot and I say, I'm right here, it's right now. I'm right here and it's right now. And I do my breathing and then I check in. How you doing? I don't go to, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my shit in the grocery store. I'm the crazy one and everybody's gonna know. And I don't go there. I go to loving kindness. Okay, let's breathe right here, right now. Do you need to walk away from your grocery cart? Or can we go through checkout? Or can we finish shopping and then go through checkout? What can I do? What can I do? There is such a healing and such a freedom to being able to just own myself, love myself, and just care for myself. If I had a child that had special needs, I wouldn't beat him or her up because they have a special need. I would just take care of them, because I would just lovingly, kindly take care of them. And I always use Mr. Rogers as my example. If Mr. Rogers saw me having a hard time, would he yell at me? Would he belittle me? Would he be aggravated with me? Or would he be kind and loving and compassionate and understanding and still firm, this is what we need to do, and can we do this, and what can we do? So as we approach tomorrow's post-traumatic stress disorder day. It's different for different people, but it's kind of the same, you know, that whole weird being in two places at the same time in your mind and feeling all the horror of what happened to us in the now moment, knowing that it's not really happening in the now moment, but you're sort of stuck between two worlds, and being able to use your soul, because your brain is engaged in surviving the terror that it thinks it's happening, using your soul to just like bring you back over to the right here, right now. There are correctional officers who suffer with this. Our law enforcement suffer with this. Our firefighters, EMTs, our first responders, people who've gone to war, survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, people who've been in awful car accidents or airplane accidents, who have witnessed some horrific things. Like, there are tons of people who have been traumatized. There are tons of different ways post-traumatic disorder shows up. It's not always what you see on TV. It can be subtle things. I remember I was trespassing. I was on a rock. I was on a rock in the water next to a private little island that no one's supposed to walk on. And a law enforcement person, I don't want to shame this person, but a law enforcement person was having a bad day. And that person lost their shit on me. Absolutely unprofessional, inappropriate, and I'm trying to de-escalate the law enforcement person. You're doing your job. I accept that criminal trespassing ticket. It's okay. Yes, I know what you're doing. It's okay. Thank you for doing your job. Totally, like, it shows up in many ways. And I'm not a big fan of people who have it drinking, because you just never know. But we belong to a tribe of human beings, and the world could use more Mr. Rogers, right? I love Xena, the warrior princess. Love her. Love Pippi Longstocking. Love Mr. Rogers. There is a time and a place for us to be a warrior in our lives. There's a time and place for us to be the feminine. There's a time and place for us to embrace our masculine. There's a time and a place that we should be a playful child. We're not one-dimensional. There's so much to us. Sometimes we have to be the thinkers, and sometimes we have to be the feelers, and sometimes we have to be the listeners, and sometimes we have to be the speakers. Lovingly embracing all of who we are and all of who other people are. Just because somebody has post-traumatic stress disorder doesn't mean that they're broken, that they're never going to have a good life, or whatever people think, right? Making a safe place within yourself to own all of the things that you are is where we begin. And then we can offer that safe space for our family and our friends, and just lovingly accepting people for who they are when they're there. It just makes the world a better place. All right, I've got some grocery shopping to do. And you know what? Maybe I will go grocery shopping and I won't have anything yucky happen at all. And maybe I'll go in there and I'll have something yucky happen. I don't know, but I don't worry about it because I know if anything does happen, it's because I can handle it. If something needs to come up for me to be healed, it wouldn't come up if I wasn't ready for it. So because it has happened, I'm ready for it, and it's okay. It's just another opportunity to heal. So it'll be okay. I'm reminding you of this now, and maybe someday you can remind me. All right, groceries.